So, the greatest show that the UK has ever produced, Peaky Blinders, has officially come to an end. So in the wake of this final season, I have decided to create a review of the events in this season and give my opinions on the season as a whole. Now, please note before we get into this video, these are my opinions, meaning that things I say you may not necessarily agree with, so please don't get angry if I'm being too negative, as I do love the show with all my heart, but I do feel I have some fair issues to bring up.
On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
Now, the first issue is very harsh, as the showrunners had no choice in this decision due to the tragic and untimely demise of Helen McCrory. However, I think that the way it was executed was a bit less effective. I understand that it helps to elevate the conflict between Tommy and Michael. However, I think the IRA representatives wasn't the best way that they could have gone about it. In my mind, a character as crucial to the story as Polly, someone who's very important to Tommy as well, should have been killed by an equally crucial character. I understand the connection between the IRA and Mosley in the show, however, the IRA and the female representative, who is implied to be the leader of the group, are barely featured in this final season. She's in a few scenes but doesn't really have anything to say. I think it could have carried more emotional weight if Polly was killed by someone closer to either Tommy or Mosley, or if the people who were responsible for Polly's death had a greater role in the show.
On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
In the final episode, Billy Grade, who was revealed to be the rat who foiled Tommy's plan at the end of season 5, is killed by Tommy's illegitimate son, who I assume will take over the business whilst Tommy takes a step back. Also, I'd just like to point out that I did actually get that Billy Grade reference right in my predictions video. Go check that out if you haven't already. My issue isn't the killing of Billy Grade. I mean, that spastic had it coming. My issue is with Finn, who sided with Billy, who has been exposed as an informant, as opposed to siding with one of his oldest friends, Isaiah. Why Finn would show such loyalty to a man who betrayed his family just never made sense to me. I understand that he wasn't informed of the plan, which would be frustrating, understandably. However, for him to point a gun at Isaiah and to try and shoot Duke makes just no sense to me. Have him express his frustration in another way, like have him leave the family, like how his wife Mary insinuates she's wanted him to do for the entire season. Don't make him vengeful for the death of a guy who's wronged him and his family, because that just doesn't really make any sense to me, especially considering the whole theme of the show is loyalty to a family.
On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
This is a little more nitpicky, but I just think it would be something that I really fucking wanted to see. That thing is Tommy exposing Mosley's affair with Gina to either Jack Nelson, Mosley's mistress Diana, or both. There have been two perfect opportunities within the season. The first being the famous dinner scene with both Nelson and Diana present, especially when Diana's calling out Tommy in front of Tommy's wife. Tommy had a perfect opportunity to do the same to Mosley, but he didn't. And I've never understood why, because that's definitely something that Tommy would do. And the second opportunity he had was in the final episode where there's the scene in Parliament with Tommy, Diana and Mosley. It would have been a perfect time on their final encounter to bring it up. This wouldn't have changed much for the overall story. I mean, it would have changed the relationship between Diana and Mosley, but they're both power hungry and I'm sure she would have looked past it anyway. I would have loved to see Tommy wipe that annoying ass smile off Mosley's stupid smug face.
On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
Yes, what I thought was my most surefire prediction, that I thought was almost guaranteed, was in fact wrong, as Tommy Shelby remains alive at the end of the season. Now, despite nearly blowing his own brains out, Tommy ends up surviving, as he finds out that the doctors who diagnosed him with tuberculoma were actually working for Mosley and lied to Tommy in the hope that Tommy would just give up and kill himself, which he very nearly did. He then confronts the doctor, whose land he was near for some reason, coincidentally, but he doesn't kill him, as he states he finally wants some peace in his life. He wants to leave that killing life behind. I feel this ending could have been better for the show had Tommy died, as it's more symbolic that he leaves the world on a high note, with him building houses for those less fortunate than him on his land. Also, Tommy ends up losing pretty much everything by the final season, and Tommy's been suicidal for a very long time prior to this season. With all of these things put together, I feel like Tommy's death would have had more emotional weight to it, as he finally receives the punishment that, in all fairness, has been long overdue, and also his death would sort of seem as like a martyr, like he's died for standing up to fascism, for the people, the Labour Party, for socialism. He's died for something, but now he just keeps living and just, doesn't do anything with his life anymore, which is a bit less interesting.
On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
I also thought that it was a bit odd that the first big love in Tommy's life, Grace, didn't even appear once in this season as a flashback, like she did throughout season 5. She was offhandedly referenced by Charlie in the final episode, but that was all she got. I think someone who had so much influence over Tommy should have more of an impact in this final season. Even if that influence was her memory revisiting Tommy one last time at some point during the final episode when Tommy was really up against it, to give him advice on how to or what to do, or to comfort him through some of his pain. I feel like that would have been something nice to see, but we never got to see that. Especially when Tommy and his wife are going through some very rough patches at the end of the season. But it's not all bad.
On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
This season had some of the best dialogue in the whole show. Most of Tommy's monologues within the show, unsurprisingly, were cold as fuck. Most notably being his monologue that he had whilst having a conversation with Alfie Solomons, or his initial interaction in the church with Jack Nelson. But for me, the two best pieces of dialogue came from the party scenes. The first one being the previously mentioned dinner party with Tommy Mosley, Lady Diana, Jack Nelson, and Swain from the IRA. There's just so much back and forth, despite the fact that Tommy's had so much loss. They're trying to press him down, squeeze him, make him feel small, and he just doesn't let them. And he fires back with some great lines at the end of the conversation. But my personal favourite scene would have to be Ada's introduction scene with Jack Nelson and the Mosleys. The tension within this scene, as all the characters try to pull Ada apart on their first encounter, while she just effortlessly defends herself, is so well written and well paced, and so well shot that I'd actually make a claim for it to be one of the best scenes in all of television. Although that's just my opinion. Also, I have to bring up that Tory Bench's line from the final episode because I actually clapped when he said that.
No, I'm not upset that my wife left me. And yeah, if you want to fuck, I'll fuck. But you'll have to cross the floor, because I refuse to fuck on Tory benches.
On a gathering storm comes a tall, handsome man in a dusty black coat with a red right hand.
The final action scene between the Peaky Blinders and the IRA in the streets of Small Heath is easily the best action sequence in the whole show for me. The dark, dingy streets of Birmingham, the dozens of obstacles that could have enemies hiding behind it, waiting to strike, the smoke, the sound, the family who unwittingly walk into no man's land, the sudden twists where there being a gunman and then Jeremiah comes out, all of this created so much tension that I was actually on the edge of my seat watching it. As there was genuinely a part of me that believed that Arthur could maybe die in it, because a lot of characters arcs have been drastically different to what I predicted. I thought maybe Arthur could die. Also, I'd be lying if I didn't say that Tommy killing Michael gave me immense pleasure. So there it is, my quick review for Peaky Blinders' final season, season 6. Please do remember that this is just my opinion, as I said. You are well within your right to disagree, as I am well within my right to make this video. So please don't be angry at me in the comments. Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Comment if you want to see more Peaky Blinders content, like edits and other stuff like that. Please subscribe to help stay up to date with the content on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.